Hi, Wilder folks. Alicia here. I'm going live today. I think this is week 4 of us trying this online format. Looks like I've got 3 of you watching right now. That's great. I'm going to give everyone a second to get online. And I'd love if you said hello. Today, we're going to be talking about how core strength transfers to better skiing. Huge topic that I love to talk about. So if you want to come and say hi, then I'm going to right now in the comments. Then I can see who's online and we can kind of gear what we're talking about today to who is here. Now I saved my coffee for the event, and we're going to start by talking about what I kind of see as the most often overlooked aspect of core strength. Yes, my cat is making this live a little bit harder. Let's introduce you to LJ. LJ has a very strong core, but LJ has never been skiing. And the first thing I wanted to talk about today was the most common misconception I hear, which is, oh, I don't have a strong core because I don't have a six-pack. And so I'm here to tell you, here's a PSA, that a six-pack does not mean you have a strong core. If you have a six-pack, it doesn't mean you have a strong core. And if you don't have a six-pack, it doesn't mean you don't have a strong core, specifically as it relates to skiing. So let's talk about the six-pack first, just so we can get that out of the way. Your six-pack is actually just one muscle of, I would say, tens of muscles that make up what we call the core. And that muscle is your rectus abdominis. If you have a big rectus abdominis and you have a low body fat percentage, and genetically your body doesn't keep fat on that one spot below your rib cage, in between your rib cage and pelvis, then you might have a six-pack. However, having those components, like maybe you have a really strong core, you have big rectus abdominis, but you genetically, your body keeps fat in that area, then you might have a lower body fat percentage than someone who has a six-pack, and you might not have one. So that's the first thing I like to talk about, is a six-pack does not mean you have a strong core. And when you achieve a strong core, particularly a strong core as it relates to skiing, that won't mean you immediately can see all those ab muscles there. What we do actually think of as the core, as strength and conditioning coaches, is it's any muscle between the shoulder girdle, so between your shoulders and your pelvis, any muscle in that area that can control the pelvis and stabilize the pelvis. So it's a really broad definition. If we think about it, it's not just those six-pack muscles, it's also muscles that are on the side of your body, that are on the back of your body, that work together to stabilize your torso. A neat thing to think about that we learned day 1 of kin school is that muscles can only pull, they can't push. So if we want to stabilize something, we need muscles pulling on both sides of that object to keep it stable, because our muscles can't push. And so we're going to talk a little bit today about how those muscles are working when you're on snow. And surprise, surprise, just doing crunches isn't going to get you ready for the way that your core has to stabilize your body when you're on the hill. So we've talked about six-pack, we've talked about front of the body, side of the body, back of the body, all has muscles that we need when we're using our core on hill. Let's talk about how forces are actually working on us during a turn and why we actually need core strength at all. When you are doing a turn, whatever kind of turn you're doing on skis, you've got a couple forces acting on you. The first is gravity. Gravity is pulling us towards the center of the earth at all times. You also have a source that's, sorry, my cat is into a snack. you also have a force that is wanting to pull you out of the circle that you're staying in from that centrifugal force that you have when you're on skis. And that's a rotational force. So I don't know if you've ever felt during a ski turn that you feel like you are getting pulled this way while you're trying to turn that way. But that is the biggest force that we need core strength for when we're skiing. And we call that an anti-rotational strength. Now remember, muscles pull, they don't push. So in that middle of a turn, we are using our core muscles to keep our weight on our outside ski and to not get rotated in that turn towards the direction of the pull. So that means that just doing crunches on the ground is not actually exposing us to that rotational force so that we have to use our muscles to not rotate in the gym. If we just do crunches, we're just working on our ability to flex our spine. And if you think about it, that's only one of sort of 4 categories of core muscle that we can build. The best thing we can do in the gym to then work on our core strength as it relates to skiing is to put ourselves in situations where we feel a force pulling on us and we have to resist against it. So we have to create that anti-rotational core strength. And there's lots of exercises that can do this. We're going to talk about 2 categories of that today. Now, I'm not going to demo any of them today. In this live setting, I found it really hard to show exercises and stuff. So if you're interested in a video where I show exercises, then I'd love for you to drop that in the comments so that I know enough people are interested in it for me to make a fully produced video. But the thing to remember is for the exercises we're doing, like a rotation resisted step back lunge or rotation resisted squats, we want to have, or Palloff presses, we want to have something pulling on us to the side while we're resisting that rotation. So the other way that this works is we can build the individual muscles on the front, sides, and back of our body so that we have that strength when we go on a hill. And so, of course, crunches are actually one component of that. They are working on that rectus abdominis. They are helping you build that strength. We then want to make sure we're building the muscles on the back part of the body, the ones that surround the spine and are on the back of our torso. So those 2 muscles can work together to keep us upright and strong. Then we can work specifically on the muscles kind of beside your 6-pack. I like to say the internal and external obliques, and those will help us stay stable laterally and also resist rotation. So in our 8 weeks pre-ski program, we have side planks, we have Copenhagen planks. These, by getting over laterally, we're mimicking a lateral pull on the body. And so gravity's acting on you to try and make you go down or rotate that way. But we've done it by getting sideways. And there's lots of variations of planks. Oftentimes I'll see people kind of skew themselves in their plank, so they're not using their core. So my biggest thing when I'm working with anyone through our online programs or in person is we talk about where we want to feel an exercise, and then we actively search for that in our workout. And so when it comes to core strength, man, those crunches are going to make you feel your rectus abdominis. Those side planks should make you feel your internal and external obliques working nice and hard to keep you upright. The next thing that I want to talk about, core strength on the hill gives you freedom for your legs to move. So remember, core muscles stabilize the torso. And if we're stable in the torso, our legs are free to work as shocks underneath us. So if we're going over moguls, that force from the ground or, hitting a mogul is going to be able to be absorbed by our legs as opposed to coming up through our body like a shock wave and throwing us off balance. So tight through the core and strong through the muscles of the core mean that our legs can work like shocks underneath us. And that's true through moguls. It's also true through really steep terrain or changing snow conditions. I don't know if you've ever been skiing in, beautiful light blower pow, and then you hit the line on the mountain where it gets a little warmer and you're coming into that warmer snow, and all of a sudden it goes from light snow that's just not stopping you at all to snow that is slowing you down. That's real. If we have that ability to stabilize our torso, tighten our core, resist rotation, all of a sudden our legs are free to work underneath us. We're not going to get thrown forward when we hit that slower snow. And so to work on that, yes, we want to build the individual muscles, which is how we're going to do it with those exercises. We also, though, we want to work on expressing power with our lower body and transferring it up. And that's where, if you know me, or if you've done one of my ski programs, I love jump style training to help us work on this. That can be plyometric style training. We always want to approach it by starting where we're at. So for some clients, that means just simply working on the first part of a jump, working on an air squat top freeze, where we're not actually getting air. We're not actually loading ourselves plyometrically just yet, but we're learning how to tighten the core so that when my leg muscles send me up, I go up with my whole body, and I'm transferring that power. And then when I'm on snow, that actually works the other direction. So now I can press power into the snow, I can push, and that is going to result in me having a nice turn versus me just collapsing and balling up, which can happen when you have some big G-forces on the hill. So if you are interested in this, I would love for you to let me know in the comments. And if I have enough interest, we'll make a full video on my top core exercises for skiing and why crunches do not equal great core strength for being on snow. Anyhow, thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope you have a wilder rest of your week, and I look forward to chatting with you soon. We have a quiz. I love this quiz. It's a ski quiz that helps you figure out your skiing superpower, so what you're really good at, and your kryptonite, or the thing that you can work on to become a better skier faster. And we will drop the link to that in the description after I'm done the live. So you can check out that. And if you're interested in getting ready for either a ski trip you have coming up or for the regular season at your local hill, then we have just an awesome 8-week online ski program that I've got a lot of clients in right now as we gear up for winter. So if you're interested in that, check the link to the description below. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you have a wilder day.